Morning.
Good morning.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful.
All right.
We got a hectic week planned, but today's good.
What's going on this week?
Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't know how I get myself into these things, but I've got some elderly neighbors and they've got some projects that they don't need to be doing.
I
So
guess.
yeah, volunteered my time and services to try to help them out. So,
Oh, that's very nice of you.
well, I mean, at 87, you don't need to be climbing on your roof. Uh, yeah, I don't care how bad your gutters are. Just don't do it, please.
Yeah. Yeah. After a long life to end up sliding down the roof because of a gutter is kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Good. Hey, did you get a chance to check out Samantha's show?
I didn't know about it.
No, I'm sorry you missed that. Yeah, she did one Saturday, 5 o'clock Saturday. Yeah, she
Oh,
ran
wow.
for like, I don't know, 2 hours.
Wow.
She did good. I was so pleased with her.
Wow. Did anybody record it by any chance?
I did not. I didn't even think about it, Dennis, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why I didn't get a notice. I thought I checked the little box, but
yeah,
who knows?
yeah. Well, there's a lot of shows that I don't get. Craig has the same problems over at Karaoke. They come and they go, and he didn't even know about them either. But no, she did a really good job. I hope she was happy with it. I
Wow.
thought
Did
so.
it look like she was making sales?
Yeah, I think she made a couple while I was hanging around. So, but yeah, I hope she'll stick with it because I think she'll be fine. I really
Was
do.
that Pop Shop?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Correct.
okay. Great. Fantastic. All right. Hey, Trey. How you doing? Branson?
I'm doing well. Hope you guys are too.
Yeah, how's the weather out there out west?
Nice and sunny today. I think we're supposed to get really hot tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're supposed to get pretty hot today, and we had a whole bunch of rain starting about 5 o'clock last night. Rain, I don't know, till probably 8 or 9 o'clock, solid, which we really needed.
We could use it. We planted about 8,000 apple trees last week, and that's the latest we've ever planted them. So we're gonna need some water on them soon.
Oh my God, 8,000 apple trees?
Yeah, that's quite a few.
Dang, how many acres is that on? One or two?
We did a high density, so it's only about 8 acres. So you can get about 1,000 trees in 1 acre.
Oh my gosh. Well, is it a particular kind of apple? Not that I know a damn thing about apples.
Yes, so these are geared more towards a hard cider application. So it's so they're more suited for that style. So most of them are well-known varieties, but they tend to have traits that are more desirable on the hard cider side of things.
Fantastic. 8,000 apple trees. Wow. Who knew? Hey, Samantha, how are you? I understand you were the star of the live video. I'm sorry I missed it.
I don't know about that, but Kime very kindly showed up. Thank you so much, Kime, for being there. It was very nice to see have a friendly face there. But yeah, I've done my debut now, so I couldn't talk the next day. My throat was so sore after talking for 2 hours.
You need some of Trey's cider.
Exactly.
Wow. So how did it go from your perspective?
I enjoyed it. It was, something new. I'm glad I did it for 2 hours rather than one because you
2 hours.
yeah, I
Wow.
did it for two. And I did see people come in and, you never see them leave though, do you, Kime? I don't know. That's the bad thing.
Yeah.
Did you have your laptop there?
I did, but
Okay.
I didn't know how to use it. So,
Okay. Well, the next time log into your dashboard and I leave that there and you can see people as they leave. So you can see how many views and how many people. So I like to follow because sometimes I'm just talking to myself, but that's okay.
I kind of felt that way too. When people popped in, I'd start my routine again.
Mhm.
I'd start over.
You did great. I enjoyed it.
Oh,
So,
thank you so much. Thank
let me
you.
ask you, Kime. So if you're on Pop Shop Live, so you can open up your laptop and basically sign into your account and see your dashboard, and then
Well,
separately you're using your phone to go live. Is that right?
correct. I use my phone to go live and then I use my iPad. I save the numbers from the previous show and I log into my dashboard and then I can pull up the existing shows so I can monitor what's going on there. And I'm trying to figure out how to feature my products but with the people coming and going, it's kind of hard to back up and keep bringing. So I just leave it and tell them to go and look it up. But yeah, I can monitor everything there, see how many people's coming in, how many people's leaving, all the chat, all the views. You can get to your products and change everything there live. So it makes it a little bit easier. I'll have to thank Cherry Orchard for that. They showed me that little trick.
So just so I understand, is there a recording made of your live?
That I don't know. That I don't know. I know Pop Shop has used some of that in their Instagram posts, so I'm sure somebody's got access to it, but I don't know if there's an actual point where you can save it or you can record it yourself. That I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Pop Shop. Sandra, do you know?
Yeah, so I asked them when I was working, back when in the first cohort, I asked them if they had a recording. They said they don't record those sessions. It's when someone from their team logs into the show and I think they do a screen capture or something, and that's what they end up using in their social media promotions and things. That's what my guess is.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I would next time be sure to let me know when you go live, and I can record it. And all of you can too. I use my iPad and just hit screen recorder and just record it. And now I've got a little editor, can kind of clean it up if necessary. But yeah, that's I wish they would let you post your older recordings, because in my conversation with other vendors, they tell me the sales from the replays are greater than the sales from the live. So I don't know if that's BS or what, but it's something to know. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming today. Appreciate it. This is going to be a little bit different today. We're going to look at some things that I consider somewhat motivational, something humorous, hopefully. But this one is from TED Talk, and it's a really funny, I think, and very popular video about what they don't tell you about being an entrepreneur. So I think some of you will be able to relate, is my prediction. So let's give it a shot here.
At TEDx, about to give a killer talk. If only they could see me now. Next stop, Oprah. Hashtag living the dream. Hashtag winning. Hashtag crushing it. Oh, how could I forget? My life is amazing. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day with a big smile on my face. And that's without an alarm clock. And you know why? Because my passion wakes me. You see, after an hour of power yoga, I hop in a cold shower where I visualize my goals before I jump on a podcast and green a green smoothie. That's before most of you have even had time to scroll through your first social media feed. Yes, unlike you, I have the freedom to decide how I spend my days. I go on holiday when I want, where I want, and for how long I want. But you already know that because you obviously follow me on Instagram. You see, success is my first, last, and middle name. Yes. You've guessed it. I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm living the dream. It's funny because it almost sounds true. And it makes me wonder, who is that guy? Well, that's me. At least that's what you would think if you looked at my social media feed. You see, we're currently riding a wave where entrepreneurship is hip. And like any fad, when it doesn't go to plan, it's really easy to put on a brave face, keep up appearances, and pretend like you're successful even if you have no idea what you're doing. But when did it become cool to become an entrepreneur? In fact, who here runs a business? Do you feel cool? Because I don't know about you, but I do not feel cool. In fact, most of the time, I feel lonely. I worry, I stress about money on a daily basis, and this was so not meant to be the plan. You see, about a year ago, almost to the day, I quit a job after spending a decade working across the corporate sector, the non-for-profit, and the charity sector, thinking that if I quit my job, everything I ever dreamed for in life would come true. Because obviously, being your own boss means that you have the flexibility, freedom, and success is bottomless. Well, it wasn't the case. You see, maybe what it looks like on the outside through all my podcasts and YouTube videos, it looks like I'm having a ball of a time. But I actually spend 80% of my time staring nothing but a screen, and sometimes I don't even bother leaving the flat or wash. But don't tell my girlfriend that, because she thinks I do. And this got me thinking. It's the same thing that when my friends call me up and say, hey, Mark, do you want to catch up for a beer? And I say, I'm sorry, I've got other plans. I'm busy. But I'm not busy. I'm just really, really worried about how my business is actually doing. And so I feel like I can't share that. And this is something that I've seen over and over again. So I'm the host of the most unpronounceable podcast ever known to mankind. As dyslexic, I could have picked a better name. The Unconventionalists. And effectively what it is, I get to speak to a whole bunch of really exciting people from all walks of life who've experienced different levels of success. And let me tell you this. It doesn't matter if you're a one-man band or if you're a business with 1,000 employees. If you have 100 followers or if you have 1 million. The resounding feeling is how tough the journey is and how lonely it can sometimes feel. Now, if you look at the statistics, it's pretty scary. Out of the 5.5 million businesses in the UK, 76% of them were started by people who employ no one but themselves. So it's a pretty lonesome journey, to say the least, for almost 3/4 of us. And yet we feel like we can't open up and talk about it because we've made up that tears don't sell. And so we live with this dirty little secret, except this secret is something that everyone who's ever started a business knows oh too well. And I started thinking, if you look at the statistics and you look at Company House data, it looks like, actually, in 2016, it was another record-breaking year of 75 new businesses every single hour. That's insane. Bloomberg says that actually 8 out of 10 entrepreneurs fail within the first 18 months. And there was a study by the Professor Michael Freeman from the University of California that basically studied the link between entrepreneurship and mental health issues. And he found that 1 in 3 entrepreneurs experiences depression. When the hell did entrepreneurship become trendy? Especially when you look 20 years ago, and it was basically a bunch of geeky guys living in a box staring at a screen. Well, you see, when I quit Movember, I thought that everything was going to come to me. I could have never imagined that after spending 4 years in a dream job as country manager, raising 2.8 million euros for Men's Health, hobnobbing with celebrities, being interviewed on national television, and being part of an incredible team, all that to start my own business would be so tough and lonely. So when my friends and family ask me, so, how are things going? I smile, I grind my teeth, and I say, great. When really, what I want to say is, this is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm really struggling. And if you can relate to this situation, I want you to know that actually being vulnerable and telling your friends that you're hurting is the best way for them to know you need help. And I know that's scary. But instead, I've been guilty of putting up a mask and feeding the myth that being an entrepreneur and living the entrepreneurial lifestyle is the lifestyle we should all aspire to. And that got me thinking, surely there must be a reason why so many people are thinking about starting their business. Well, I think, this is my opinion, that because of the thanks to the rise of the superstar entrepreneur, including Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and Steve Jobs, the rise of the superstar entrepreneur has given birth to the new aspiring celebrity of the 21st century. Social media and front cover magazines have labeled it. They make it sound sexy and they make it sound cool. And you know what it is? It feeds into our need to be recognized, to be famous, to be rich. But is the allure of being an entrepreneur for the chase of fame and fortune really all there is to it? No. It goes deeper than that. Consider the Gallup study that found that 87% of workers worldwide feel emotionally disengaged from the work they do. And as a self-proclaimed millennial, we've got a bit of a pickle, especially when you know that millennials are the most purpose-driven generation in decades. So there's no denying that we're currently facing a crisis at work when it comes down to finding purpose. Take a look at this mythical ad of a dream job. And for those of you at the back who can't read it, men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return, doubtful. Honor and recognition in case of success. Would you apply to that ad? Well, according to the book, The 100 Greatest Advertisements, 5,000 men responded to Sir Ernest Shackleton's ad ahead of his third expedition to the South Pole, Endurance, in the early 1900s. 5,000 people. And you know what else this ad could apply to? You've guessed it. Pretty much any startup or any new business or any bold idea you come across. Because the way that he sorted out these 5,000 applicants was by putting them either in mad, hopeless, or possible. And if you've ever tried anything bold in life, you'll know what I mean when I say it's very difficult to know in which category you come across. So the question becomes, why would thousands of people want to join Sir Shackleton down to South Pole? And would this still be applied today? And if you think it wouldn't, think again. Mars One, a controversial Dutch company, announced in 2013 that its mission was to establish a permanent human settlement on Mars in 2023. 2 men and 2 women would originally be sent, and then 4 more would follow every 2 years. The catch? There is no return expected to planet Earth. Labeled as the one-way ticket to humankind's biggest adventure, more than 200,000 people registered their interest in 2013. That's insane. So actually, why would people join Sir Shackleton 100 years ago? And the reason why hundreds of thousands of people are willing to leave everything behind to join history to the chase for Mars is the same reason why so many people are attracted to the idea of becoming an entrepreneur. It's our deeper yearning for a sense of purpose. Now, Professor Steve Taylor, the senior lecturer in psychology at Leeds Beckett University, said that not having a sense of purpose makes us more vulnerable to anxiety, boredom, and depression. Because baked in every single human brain, from our ancestors fighting off saber-toothed tigers to us wrestling a really bad Wi-Fi connection, we all have a desire for purpose. It's our thirst for a mission. It's our yearning for a quest and to fulfill it. Psychology science even went as far as saying that having a sense of purpose gives you a much better chance of having a longer life than pretty much anything else. So your life depends on it. It's a bit of pressure, right? Well, that kind of pressure is exactly where we go wrong about finding your purpose. You see, what really bugs me is that people make up that when you talk about finding your meaning of being or your purpose, you've got to find the meaning of life. You've got to find the meaning of your life. And that's a really big ask. The way I see it is that if it was a thorny issue for Aristotle, then I should probably keep it simple. And if you don't know what a quest is, and you don't know what purpose is, look around you. They're everywhere. They're in the books you read, in the stories you tell, in the movies you watch. I've been obsessed with this concept of quest and finding a quest. And I've spoken to hundreds of people who started theirs. And this is what I've learned. They come in all shapes and sizes. They're not measured by how impactful they are, but rather how they make you feel when you think about them, when you're actively pursuing them. I want to give you an example of a really small quest, what I've come to label micro quests. Now, you see, a few years ago, I had this really stupid idea to see if I could start a drink startup in 7 days with £100. And this was while I still had a full-time job, by the way. So I'd wake up at 6 a.m., do recipes. I was traveling, try and cross the border of Belgium with 1 kilo of protein powder in your bag. And the crazy thing is that I ended up working my butt off for 7 days, went to a festival in the woods, and I sold all my plant-based protein shakes. I made a whooping net profit of £9. It was the happiest I'd been. Of course, I had no idea if this was going to work, but actually, when you look at it, I was trying to answer a deeper question. Is it possible to start a business in a week with £100 or less? Now, I can't tell you what your quest is, but I can tell you what it feels like in case you hear it knocking on your door. It's something that, for whatever reason, is grabbing your curiosity, even when you don't want it to. Perhaps you're thinking about it when you're in the shower, or maybe it's something to do when you're doing over the weekend. But I'd like to share with you another example. Take Laurie Portker, who, for 1.5 years, decided to paint 100 individual pieces of art for 100 people in her life who meant something, from her husband to her hairdresser to the mechanic. Her quest was to express her gratitude through her art. And in the end, she brought all these people together in a really emotional exhibition in her hometown of North Carolina. Now, you see, this yearning we have of having a quest, having a purpose, is at the heart of why so many people believe that starting a business is the only way to get that sense of freedom, adventure, and purpose. But it's not. Of course it can be, and admittedly, it has been for me. Yes, 1 year ago when I quit my job to start my business, it's been the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's also been the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And this is what I've realized, is that actually, you think you want to start a business, but what you're actually looking for is a quest. You can find purpose and meaning working with an organization, and you can find it on your free time, and you can find it on the weekend. If you don't know where to start, which tends to be the majority of everyone I speak to, trust the things that you're curious about. Follow the things that you're interested about. Those are your breadcrumbs. Don't dismiss them. They sometimes feel like there's no way I could be interested in barbecues or violin. And next thing you know, they lead you to your quest. Those are the breadcrumbs. Trust them. And if they scare you, that is so good. Because what scares us most is most often what we most need to do. Take Paul Graham, the co-founder of Y Combinator, the most sought-after startup accelerator in the world, who said, it seems in order to do really big things, you need to start by doing deceptively small things. So whether your quest is an entrepreneurial one or not, I urge you to start today. Don't wait. Because if everyone had a purpose, no matter how small, the world would be a better place for us all. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay, bye.
So hopefully we put him away. So I thought his opening was pretty hysterical, that his first, middle, and last name is Success. I'm sure some of you can relate to that thing. So I'd love to hear the reaction of some of you folks, and particularly those of you who did in fact quit a job or stop working in a corporate way, and what you've kind of discovered as an entrepreneur, just kind of briefly, if anybody wants to tackle that. I know Kime does.
I do, but I'm briefly is what hung me up there, Dennis. I don't know if briefly is in my repertoire, but no, it did resonate. And, it, I looked at this as a retirement plan as a way to supplement my income, but over the course, it's been pushed into, well, you know what? I really wish you'd get this business flying so I can quit my job. And I'm like, okay, that really wasn't part of the plan. So, we've had to take a step back and really analyze this from a truthful and realistic perspective. How far wide do we need to be? But no, he resonated a lot. It is a lonely path. And that's why I appreciate, again, this class and this group, because you have a support system here. And I look forward to it every cohort, not just this one, because I've made some really good friends and appreciate that. So I'd like somebody else's point of view, really.
I think Sana's just dying to jump in.
Oh, okay. So basically what Kyle just said, I mean, every single thing he said resonated with me. Like, it was like I was just sitting there thinking, I wish more people knew about what he was saying. If there was a way for me to like share it with everyone around me. I do want to say one specific thing that he said, which I mean, I agree with. As a starting point for someone who wants to do something without quitting their job, to do something on the side or explore their hobbies or whatever. I did that for forever, I guess. It didn't work for me. I took so many classes. Like I didn't have kids back, for like 10 years into my career. So after work, I was taking classes. I've taken cybersecurity certificate. I've like done cybersecurity certifications. I've done Java programming, software development. I mean, I've done so much stuff. Like I started taking language classes. I've always been doing something. It just didn't do it for me because I think the time that I actually spent at work, which was more than 9 to 5 for me, I was still thinking about those things that I was doing after hours and I was looking forward to them. I just, for like 12, 13 years, I did that and I just didn't want to do that anymore. So yes, again, what he said, it's been the hardest 2 years of my life and I've worked the hardest, but I wouldn't change it for anything. I'm not going back to the corporate world, gosh, please.
Yeah. Good for you. Anyone else wanna jump in? Go ahead, Samantha.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm unemployable now anyway, after working for yourself for as long as you are. I know I'm unemployable. But I think that, yeah, the loneliness is, I think, what resonated with me. And that's why community is so important. And problem solving together, because we're all I mean, like being an entrepreneur, it's all problem solving. That's all you're doing. You're just coming up against obstacles and solving those obstacles. Um, and to have it and to be in a community where people understand that is very important. So yeah, I'm very grateful for this community amongst others that help me solve my problems daily.
What about and this really is directed at everybody, but what about how do you keep your eye on the big picture when you have so many things going on a daily basis, particularly if you have to do it all yourself? I'm just curious how you maintain your kind of strategic or big picture perspective of what you're doing versus your day-to-day details. Anybody want to jump on that?
Calendar and scheduling. I kind of make milestones of things that I have to do that are the big things that the little things kind of put together, so that I know that by that date I'm kind of on the same track and I don't get distracted by too many of the little things to fall off of where I'm trying to get to. That's how I work it.
So for you, it's kind of a process map or a calendar that keeps you on the path you're going for.
Yeah, my Apple scheduler and planner, I couldn't live without it now. Like, it reminds me of everything. So that was just something reminding me of something right there. That I got to do at 3 o'clock. So
Okay.
perfect example. I didn't mean for that to happen right then, but that keeps me, because it's on my phone, my tablet, and my computer. So wherever I'm at, I'm always reminded, and it keeps me on schedule.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, so oh,
Go ahead, Amy.
thanks. I apologize. I actually have to leave in a minute, but I wanted to say that I stay on track by not. I fly by the seat of my pants and hope I get things done. And it's really chaotic and I don't like it. So if anyone has any other tips, I would love that. Maybe it's just because I'm too busy, but I can't even like write in my calendar things that I need to do. So I think
Well,
that's realistic for some of us.
Yeah, I think you prescribe to the theory, if you're going faster than the object that's coming toward you, you will destroy it versus it destroying you. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Anyone else want to take a shot at this?
I was just going to say, I do have accountability buddies that help me, because if you say it to somebody else, they'll keep you on the path. So that I find that helpful. And also, instead of, I tried to do annual sort of goals and things like that. I find that if I break them into quarters, and I have maybe 3 big goals a quarter, and that helps. I think sometimes our list is so long, that to pick out the priorities can be overwhelming, and then if you just narrow your focus, that you feel like you're letting everything else fall by the wayside too. But I do find that, having maybe just 3 to 5 goals a quarter, and sometimes they roll over, you can't necessarily, they have their own timeline too, but to try to keep it as simple as possible and just to find support when you need it.
Yeah, I think, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's also important to be aware of where you are in the life cycle of your business. Obviously, when you're starting or you're building a website, there's certain things that are much more intensive process wise than other things. And I would argue that the startup phase, you may find yourself, dealing with lots of issues that you will in fact not have to deal with forever. It is somewhat project based or episodic. So I think that's important to keep in mind too. I've been involved in 8 startups in my career, and most of the time I have been kind of like the CEO. I'm not necessarily the one doing all of the real hard work, in my opinion, but I found it really helpful. In my case, I had a board of advisors that I kind of recruited. These are folks that I knew and seemed to give a shit a little bit. So, I would say, hey, what do you think about this? Or try to develop a connection with somebody who maybe has done what you've done before. That can be really helpful. One of the things when I was in the insurance business many years ago, they had these groups and they called them 20 groups. And it was basically 20 people in a kind of a focus group or a group all kind of at the same level of development in their business or whatever. And I found some of those to be really helpful because in many cases, nobody was directly competitive, right? They were all from different parts of the country or even different businesses. So, but the idea of some sort of, whether it's accountability buddies or advisor group or, anything along, you could have a customer advisory group. Some people might feel like, hey, I'm special. I'm on the One Eats customer advisory group board. So they're all different techniques that they're out there, but I do think it's important to have that. And the word accountability can be pretty harsh. To me, accountability comes in different forms. Some is, really bottom line. Like I worked with this guy. I don't mean to laugh, but he was the cruelest son of a bitch I ever ran across. He was the CEO and founder of MCI, the telephone company, and he fired the worst performing vice president each quarter. Whoever was last was gone, and I just thought that was brutal. But that's the way he wanted it, and nobody would get off the elevator on his floor because they were afraid that if it was near the end of the quarter, that he might say, I'm going to get rid of that guy. Really hysterical. But he actually just said that in his case, it was so fast growing. He said there was no way to really, in his opinion, the lack of skill, I think, basically he used fear to run the business. And, you know, that's very common. You know, I see that actually more than any other method, particularly in any kind of hardcore sales business, you'll see that sort of mentality. But anyway, I do like the idea of customer advisory groups, or, you know, like this class can perform that function. And, you know, I'm not sure what, like the North Carolina Specialty Foods Association, if they have some sort of subgroups or anything like that. I'm really not super up on that. But any of those opportunities, I encourage you all to, you know, to take a look at for sure. So.
I just wanted to say that this group does that for me. It takes me away for like an hour or so from my little tasks, you know, day-to-day things, and helps me focus on the big picture, why I'm doing this, and, you know, talk about things that I don't actually think about every day. So that's why I'm here, and I hope to be here in the next one as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love to have everybody. I mean, realistically, you know, he kind of alluded to it in the video. You know, he says, but, you know, you got to pay attention to things that might turn out to be a different benefit than you may have thought. Like in Sana's case, she's obviously a very good student, and she's taken lots of subjects, but her purpose here is slightly different. You know, she does want to learn stuff, but she also gets other things out of it. And, you know, that's something, frankly, when we were kind of putting this together, I didn't really think about how important that is, but it's turned out to be one of the major benefits of this organization, or this organization. We're I don't know what we are, but a school, a class, you know, and I'm very grateful that it's worked out that way. So hopefully we can continue that process going forward. Well, I don't have anything else today. This was my plan for today. If there's anything anybody wants to cover it. Also, I just encourage you, if you are going live or you have a sale or anything, go ahead and post it on the Facebook group, you know, and people can see that. You know, I'm really sorry I missed Samantha's show. I would have been watching and buying stuff. You know, I try to do that. So anyway, you know, just appreciate everybody coming, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey Dennis, can I talk to you for a little bit?
Sure, come on, go ahead.
Do you want me to call you, or we just talk here?
We can talk here, fine.
Okay. So I was thinking, I have no experience with nonprofits.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any information on that, or can you guide me to someone that?
Are you talking about, you want to set up a nonprofit?
Yes, I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like, I have no experience. I don't know anything about nonprofits, how they're run, like nothing
Sure.
at all. And I'm not at a point right now where I'm gonna sit in front of a computer and do all my research. I don't know.
Yeah, I will. I'll. This is something I happen to know a little bit about, so I will share it. So, I actually have my own 501c3 that I've had for several years that I use for 501c3 as a type of nonprofit, which is the one you want to get if you're doing this. And I use it for a bunch of different things and reasons.
Okay.
It started off with the idea that I wanted to help people who didn't have access to healthcare. So I made a deal with a company that actually provided access to doctors via text. So you could text the doctor and actually have an interview, an appointment, and get a prescription all by text, and did not require broadband, which I thought was really good for rural areas. So that kind of got me started. So the process that I followed, I used a company called Rocket Lawyer, ROCKET Lawyer. And the reason I did that is because I've always had lawyers and accountants my whole life. And, you know, sometimes if they don't really work in that area, they tell you they do, and it ends up costing you a lot more while they learn. So what's beautiful about Rocket Lawyer is they will get you your 501c3 designation really, really fast. So just so you know, historically, it would take about 2 or 3 years to get that, because it was so popular. But now there's a new short form, and Rocket Lawyer pursues it, as do others. and you can get it in a couple of weeks. And have your 501c3. And the thing about Rocket Lawyer, it will explain all of that detail that you need to know. There's what about this, what about that, don't do this, don't do that, all that kind of thing. So my suggestion would be to look into it. There may be others other than Rocket Lawyer. I just happen to use them. And I want to say it was something like $400 all in. Compared to my normal guy would probably be 3,000 or 4,000, to do something like this. And in fact, just this a funny story. So I was asked to be on the board of another nonprofit that was forming, and I wasn't the driving force. I was just advising. And they had lawyer and accountant and all this stuff, and it was just like a nightmare. And I just kept telling the guy, you really don't have to do it. It doesn't take a year. It doesn't cost 10 grand, blah, blah, blah. And finally, at the end, they realized that they had been wasting a lot of time and kind of cut to the chase. So Rocket Lawyer or others similar to that will help you. And the other way to look at a nonprofit, and this is my mentality, doesn't necessarily mean it's yours, but I view having control of a nonprofit is having another corporate pocketbook that I can do things with, right? Like I can have payments sent to that nonprofit instead of to me, or I can make a contribution to it at the end of the year instead of to some other nonprofit. I can put it in my nonprofit, but I don't have to spend it until later, right? So it just gives you another little option. And the other thing that I found really important, since I live in such a rural area, the bank that you use, a bank account is really kind of critical. I use a bank called Novo, N-O-V-O. They're an online only bank and they just have incredible services. So as far as dealing with this, that's who I use for my bank account for this organization.
Why did you say what bank you use is important for a nonprofit?
Well, this is just me, right? So I'm by myself. So I like to be able, to deposit checks by using the phone. I like to be able to move money from different accounts. Like I can link the Novo Bank to all my other accounts, and I can transfer money in and out really easily with the way Novo works. Now, I have a Wells Fargo account. They are light years behind somebody like Novo, and just in terms of their mentality about dealing with an app-based banking. So you'll see if you have an account with the kind of the traditional banks, you'll see what I'm talking about. But your bank, if you have a relationship, there's no reason not to use them. It's just, for me, I really don't want a big hassle when I want to do something with the nonprofit. I don't want to go through a bunch of bullshit. I don't want to go to a branch. Of course, there's no branches where I live, literally. So that's what's been good for me. And there are other on app banks as well, but Novo is really good.
So just FYI, I use Bank of America for Winnings, and I have not had to actually go to a location ever.
Right.
And I only spoke with someone maybe I think twice in the past 2 years. When I needed support, I called them up, which is what I appreciate. I do everything via their app. So they're pretty good. Just, in case somebody needs that.
Yeah, find out if they charge much for their nonprofit accounts. It's just a different.
Yeah, that might be okay. I'll take a look. So the other
Sometimes
thing
they make it a little more difficult. Go ahead, Samantha. You were going to say something?
I was just going to say also a good resource, because they just set up the nonprofit, is called We Power Food, and it's for women in food.
Oh, yeah.
And they're and Sue Ellsworth, and the project manager is Kat. And if you give them a call, they can, go through the steps, because they've literally just done this.
Okay.
And you should be part of We Power Food anyway, if I could just put
Okay.
that in there.
I've heard of
But
that.
anyway.
So the other thing is, and I don't know if this is a really dumb question, but when I think of nonprofits, I'm thinking of grants and fundraising and all that kind of stuff. What I'm trying to do is, my intention is to just help businesses like myself, like other businesses, is what I've learned from this group, that I'm not the only one, there's so many others in a situation like mine. And there's a lot that I have to offer, but I hate to charge people for these things. So I don't want to be, so that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So what's my option here? I mean, if like, do I apply for grants to run this, or how does any of that work?
Well, in my case, I just put my own money in the account and took a deduction. So I didn't, that's the way I did it.
Like, I don't know how any of that works.
Oh, you can write a
Think
check.
rocket lawyer
What
can
you
help
do
me?
is you set up your nonprofit, you set up a bank account, you write a check to it and deposit it. End of story.
Okay.
It's now in the nonprofit. So that's not hard. But you're going to have to put some money in there to get started. Grants are its kind of own thing. There are a gazillion grants out there, and you can probably find a grant writer, even on a freelance basis, to help you, because no matter what, if you've never done it before, you definitely need to have someone show you the way the first time, because it just depends on who the organization that the grant's for, but some of them are just really a lot of work.
I don't want to spend my time doing that kind of work. I just don't.
Well, that's why a lot of people hire
Yeah.
grant writers and that kind of thing. And there's no reason why you can't solicit direct donations also. I mean, you can have people donate directly. Like if you're working with a company, you might say, hey, I don't charge, but I do ask that a contribution be made to my nonprofit to help others and let this work continue. And, tell them they got to pay $100 or something. And so direct deposits can work, grants can work, putting your own money in can work, all of the above. Mine is not, mine is very kind of quiet and private. I don't use it like a public charity. It's not really what I'm into, but I do, like, for example, I'm an Apple developer, even though I'm not an Apple developer in truth, I don't know shit about it, but I used my nonprofit to join the Apple developer program, and they waived the fee, right? So I don't have to pay to be, and that's just one example. There are lots of examples where if you ask a vendor, do you have a nonprofit rate, or do you have something for nonprofits? And almost everybody has some kind of deal. Like my Adobe Cloud, or whatever the hell it's called, Creative Cloud, is like $10 a month instead of $100 a month, or whatever the hell it is.
I am paying them more than $10 a month. So
yeah, whatever it is. I mean, so
anything
anything like that, I try to put in my nonprofit, because almost always it's cheaper, than a for-profit. And most online companies have a nonprofit rate or whatever. So it's another little thing that you can.
Do nonprofits always have to have a board?
You do have to have a board, but it can just be a board of one. Yeah, so you'll be the president and the board member. You have to have that. And I'm not 100%. I did mine in Delaware, so I don't know about North Carolina. I do everything in Delaware for a bunch of reasons. But my accountant, he said, you're the board, you're the president, you're the secretary, you're all the above. So, but that may just be Delaware. North Carolina might require, another person. I don't know.
That could be my husband.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. And the other thing is, this is something to be aware of. It's a separate entity, so you're going to have to file tax returns and all that kind of stuff. So my accountant just is a truly great American, and I asked him about that. He goes, well, for the first 3 years, all you have to do is send them a postcard that you're still in business. So not many accountants would admit that, right? But so apparently you have a little bit of a time frame where you don't have to really do much. And then once you start maybe getting money or doing something, then you're gonna have to file a return. So in my case, I have an accountant who's going to do that for me. So, hasn't been a big deal, but it's an entity, it's a corporate entity, just like any other business. So you do have those requirements. That I don't want to minimize that, but just be aware of that as well.
Okay, this is good. Thank you so much for your time. I think that's a good enough start for me to, I know we're looking for information.
Yeah, the thing I like about Rocket Lawyer, so that company also does wills and all kinds of stuff, but they have real good educational stuff. That's what I like about them. You can read, they'll tell you the story about whatever it is you're trying to do. I just found that helpful. I had never used one of those kinds of things before. And a friend of mine who's a lawyer actually told me about it. So I think sometimes they send it out to places like this to get it done and then bill you quadruple or whatever. So it wouldn't surprise me. But anyway.
Okay, well, that's all I had. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.